Hello, and welcome to the Patience to Prosperity podcast, where we learn how to act in opposition of our limiting beliefs in order to reach our fullest potential. Hey guys, it's your host, Lizzie, and today is going to be a very special episode. I just have a feeling that a lot of things are going to come up. Lately, some of the things that I have been consuming have been pretty heavy, I'm not gonna lie. I just watched Interstellar for the first time last night, and talk about altering your brain chemistry. I don't even know if I'm real right now. I don't know what being real even means. Time doesn't exist. I have no words. Along with that, I'm a huge Mac Miller fan. He's my favorite artist of all time, and he made an album years ago that was so different that his record company didn't let him release it because it was just so out there and such a different way of approaching music. But now, years have gone since he's passed and his team has released it. And I've already heard this album called Balloonerism years ago when it first came out on SoundCloud. He leaked it there. But now that they released it officially, obviously, I have listened to it front and back countless amounts of times. Especially, it just came out today, actually, as I'm sitting down and recording. And I have a 7-hour drive to Virginia because I'm from Connecticut and I go to school in Virginia. And my winter break is over now. I'm finally back, and it feels so good to be back. And I can't wait for what's to come with this podcast while being here, because I just have so much more creative freedom in my own space than I do when I'm back in my parents' home. But needless to say, back to Mac Miller for a second, because if you know me, you know I can talk about him forever. But this album has honestly just felt like a whole spiritual awakening for me, especially listening to it while driving back down to school, because it's insane, guys. I'm not even going to talk about it for long because I want to get into the nitty-gritty of today's podcast. So I honestly don't even know where this is going to go today. So sit down, strap in, get your journal and your pen out right now, because you're going to want to write some shit down. Like, I had 7 hours alone with my thoughts in the car. Like, get those pens out right now. So I want to start this off with this blunt ass question. Who were you before the world told you who you had to be? Let that sink in for a second, right? Because we talk a lot about limiting beliefs on this podcast, but what about the conditioned beliefs? We talk a lot about limiting beliefs on this podcast, but I think that in order to bring up limiting beliefs, the topic of conditioned beliefs has to come up, because, both of them can be the same thing, right? Limiting beliefs can just be conditioned beliefs. So before I go further into that, let's just explain it a little bit so that we're all on the same page. Your conditioned beliefs are the things that have been wired into you, maybe at a young age, maybe not. Maybe it was just recently, but you let it go past your subconscious brain and you let it seep into the parts of you that dictate your actions, that dictate your behaviors, that dictate what kind of love you deserve and what kind of love you don't. All of that stuff that I'm talking about can go back, way back to childhood and how our parents raised us and how our parents showed us certain things were set. But it also can just come from friendships, new or old. It can come from things that we didn't even realize had an impact on us. And that's what makes it so overpowering and encapsulating, is the fact that we don't even understand in the moment how it's affecting us, but our brain does this thing where it continues to validate, and while validating, it builds these neural pathways in our brain to psychologically make us believe that our thoughts are us, that we are our thoughts. And, I'm a yoga teacher, and if you don't know anything about yoga, the only thing that you need to know is that yoga is all about your relationship with yourself. It's all about your soul. In yoga, we don't believe that you are your mind or that you are your body. We believe that you are a soul and that soul is eternal. And I'm not going to get into the eternity part of our existence because that could be a 2-hour long podcast minimum. And it's also completely subject to your belief. But while being on this soapbox about what it means to be a soul, right? I'm going to talk a lot about higher powers today. And I want you to fill in the blank of whatever that means to you. Maybe it's God. Maybe it's just the divine. Maybe it's a bright light. Whatever it might be to you, it does not matter to me. It is subjective to you, and that is how you create your purpose in your life. And that's a beautiful thing. All of us who believe in a higher power believe in the same power. We just can't decide what to call it and what name to label it as. And if me bringing up the concept of higher power turns you completely off and makes your ears shut off, then this episode is especially going to be one that you want to tap into. And that's not me saying that my intention by the end of this podcast is for you to believe in a higher power. That's not my intention. I want you to believe in whatever gives you purpose, whatever helps you wake up in the morning. My reasoning for wanting you to sit down and listen to me talk about all of this amazing spiritual stuff right now is that when you listen to someone talk about things, or you allow yourself to see things from a perspective that you usually don't look at, or that you've completely turned yourself off to, close your eyes to, whatever it might be, when you allow yourself the ability to just open your eyes a little bit and observe without absorbing, then you are giving yourself the gift of unraveling those conditioned beliefs that are in your head, right? So you either unlearn some of those beliefs and replace them with new beliefs that align with your soul more, which in turn helps you understand yourself better, or your beliefs that you already have become so much stronger because you're listening to someone talk about something and it doesn't resonate with you. And you're able to dive deeper into your own thoughts and your own beliefs based on what that person is saying. And that person today is going to be me for you. So thank you for allowing me to just sit down on the mic today and preach about things that are on my heart currently. It's such a gift. It's such a blessing in disguise that we don't know everything. And you're going to have to stick with me on this one because I know how much it can be frustrating sometimes to want to just have all the answers. Because we believe that from all the answers of the universe, from all the answers of what this existence is truly for, what our purpose here on earth is for, we believe that if we find that end goal, that purpose, that it will just create this newfound appreciation for life within us. But the truth is, there is magic all around you. You are just not opening your eyes to allowing yourself to bathe in that beauty and in that magic. You know, people have asked me before, what's the point of believing in something? What's the point of devoting your whole life to someone else or something higher than you if you don't actually know that it's out there protecting you? And my answer to that, and this is more of a spiritual take than it is religious. I honestly still battle with my views on religion a little bit. That's not me disrespecting whatever you believe in. I think religion is beautiful in how, humans are so fucking adorable. How we create little things that bring us together. And, what I love about religion is the aspect of the community-based foundation that it gives you. I love that, and I love learning about the scriptures and the history and miracles and all that stuff. I think is so cool. But what I don't like is how it puts you in a box, sort of, to only be able to believe exactly what the church of whatever religion you are dwelling in is telling you, and whatever that scripture is telling you. And people who are really religious, like, to me, it's like, I do believe in a God, but sometimes I call that God a higher power more than I do God, because I feel like the attachment of God is more towards denominational religious beliefs, like in the Catholic Church or in the Christian faith. And there's just so many things I can talk about with religion. I didn't really mean to get that deep into it, but I just want you to realize that you don't need to feel limited in your desire to believe in something higher than you. You can get as delusional as you want to. And going back to what I was saying before, when people have asked me, how can you just blindly believe in something, right? My answer to that is that it's not blind. I truly, truly mean it when I say, if you just tap in a little bit, that higher power will give you so many reasons to believe. We don't realize just how finite our lives are. We wake up every morning forgetting just how special and how incredible it is to have another opportunity to live a full day. And I know if we're going through mental health issues, that's such a hard thing to hear right now, because you're like, okay, well, I don't actually think this life is all that you're making it seem right now, right? And that's fair. I know that you will eventually get to the point where you see the same beauty that I see in life, right? And I can take you along that journey through this podcast. My life would be complete if I gave you some newfound appreciation for life through my podcast platform. But going back to what I was saying, we wake up every morning and it is so engraved in our brains and so conditioned by this time in our lives that that's just what happens. You just wake up, because why wouldn't you, right? Like, why wouldn't you wake up? But then you have to think about, not to get morbid here, but you have to think about the fact that one instance, one little situation can happen that can end your physical body forever. Forever. Like, our bodies are amazing. They do all that they can to keep us alive every single day. But anything can happen, right? You can have an allergic reaction to something. You can get in a car crash on that drive to work that you take every single day. Like, anything can happen. But we just get so used to our divine protection that we actually take it for granted. And that's what brings me to believe that there is no way that we are not protected in this life. There is no way. Because if I wasn't protected, I promise you, if I was not protected, I would not be here today. And I know I say that harshly and it sounds kind of morbid, but it is so true. Like, if you need something to help put that into perspective for you a little bit, maybe think about the times in your life where you've come close to a near-death experience, right? Like, I know that's something that we don't want to think about and that we probably don't often think about. But really sit and reflect on that for a second, because I know for me, I could have died in a car accident 2 years ago. And, I hydroplaned on a rainy day, and my car spun out, did a whole 360s, to be honest. It spun out like 3 times in the middle of the road. If someone else was coming from the other side of the road, or if my car hit the wall that it did on my driver's side instead of my passenger side, I'm not lying when I say I would not be here today. And there's so many little things that this higher power tries to give you every single day if you just tap in a little bit. Quick little intermission as I hop on here while I'm drinking my mud water. I just wanted to let you guys in on a special little discount for 15% off if you use my link in the show notes below, plus $20 off on top of that if you choose to get the starter pack and subscribe. The starter pack is what I'm drinking right now as I talk to you guys. And I'm not gonna lie, I have been relying on my mud water every single day to help support my gut, to help support my brain. I feel as though when I drink my mud water, my cognitive brain function is so much better throughout the day. I feel like I'm able to find more clarity, and not for nothing, all of the benefits aside, just taking some time throughout your day to make yourself a nice little drink that you know is doing so much good for your body, and sitting in stillness and sipping that drink and reminding yourself that every single sip is you pouring love into yourself is enough as it is. But if that's not enough to convince you, then I just wanted to let you guys in on some of the benefits of mud water. So with their original starter pack, it is a mushroom blend of adaptogenic mushrooms such as lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga, and reishi, which all have individual benefits for your overall health that you can go and research on your own, as well as cinnamon, turmeric, Himalayan salt, cacao, and masala chai. Those are all the ingredients in it. Natural medicine from the earth with ingredients that you can pronounce, with only 35 milligrams of caffeine and 100% organic ingredients. So go get your mud water today if you want to implement a little act of self-love into your life every single day. The language of the universe is so powerful. Like, I know so many people try to, make fun of angel numbers and stuff, which I still think is ridiculous, because let me get on my soapbox with angel numbers for a second. I've talked about them a few times in this podcast. But if you're anything like me, the hardest part for me with angel numbers is that every single person has a different understanding and representation of what each number is trying to tell them, right? Like, some people think that 111 means go with your intuition, as some people think it means that you are on the right path. And maybe two things can be true at once, right? My advice to give to you, if you are someone that is struggling right now to make meaning of these numbers and it makes you completely turned off to them, and instead of thinking about them deeper when they come up for you, or trying to expand your awareness to maybe, allowing them in a little bit more and allowing the universe to co-create with you and to communicate with you. Because when you show the universe that you are open to receiving these messages, you will get more messages, right? Like, I posted a TikTok not too long ago, and basically what I said in it was, if someone didn't trust you, you wouldn't expect them to show up for you when you ask them for things, right? So let's take that a step further now and try to take that analogy into the sense of how the universe tries to co-create with us, right? If we are outwardly trying to control the timing of our life, trying to rush the process of things, we are putting out there that we do not trust in the timing of the higher power that is protecting us. So why would we expect that higher power to show up for us in our life then? Why would we expect them to bend over backwards to protect us? And guess what? They still do. Because whatever higher power that is for you, it is all based on love. It is a loving power. I know when we think of the word power, it might kind of turn us off to the idea of something being above us, being powerful, right? Because that means that in some sense, we are at a loss of control. And that's exactly right. We are not in control of everything. And what this power wants you to understand is that you don't have to be in control of everything, because you are so protected that the things that you are worrying about that are out of your control will work themselves out if you just trust, and if you just continue to find things to be grateful for in your life. So going back to what I was saying before, I was talking about angel numbers a little bit, and a tactic that I want you to use if you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed by angel numbers because you don't know what each number means, right? And if you're anything like me and you have a bad memory too, Even if I studied each number, I'm not going to remember exactly what each of them means. Like, I have a good basis for like maybe 4 or 5 numbers off the top of my head of what they mean to me. But what I like to use even more so than just remembering one specific meaning for each number is actually becoming aware of what thoughts were processing through my head the moment that that number came into my perception. The moment that I perceived this number and my consciousness took hold of it in my own eyes, right? Because that will give you the most clarity on the situation. And all it takes is you becoming a little bit more curious with those thoughts, right? Because going back to yoga for a second, because I started talking about it a little bit in the beginning of the podcast. In yoga, we believe that there are 3 parts of the mind, right? Not the soul. There are 3 parts of the mind. And I'm not going to use all of the yogi terms, but the first part of the mind is called sat. And that part of your mind is all based on our instincts. It's our survival instincts. So it's the mind that tells us when we are hungry, when our stomach's growling and we tell ourselves, oh, we're hungry. That's your sat. Then you have your second part of your mind, which I am forgetting the name of right now. I know it starts with an A, but I'm going to butcher it if I try to just make it up off the top of my head. So the second part of your mind is where we stay in the most and where we actually need to be the least. And this is your ego. This is what we call in yoga the false ego, because your ego is not truth. It is trying to keep you safe, right? It means well. Your ego means well. But it's the part of your mind that tries to convince you to be somewhere else. It's the part of your mind that tries to rush you, that tries to make you feel like you are not in the right place. And then the third part of your mind is the part that we want to be in the most, and it's called the booty mind. Not B-O-O-T-Y, but B-U-D-D-H-I, booty, like Buddhist almost, because that's a huge part of the yogic tradition. Our booty mind, I know it's hard not to laugh at myself when I say that, but that part of your mind is the part that is tapped the fuck in. It knows what's good for you and what's not, and it's able to decipher between logic and just conditioned beliefs. So when we step into that third mind that I explained, the booty mind, we are able to not only separate ourselves from our thoughts, because in that booty mind, you understand that you are a soul, that you are not your mind. Right? Like, you understand you are not your mind, and that the thoughts that come through for so many reasons, but that doesn't automatically make them true. When you step into that, you open up your heart and your soul to receiving the language of the universe. You allow the universe to communicate with you through anything that speaks to your soul. Maybe numbers speak to you, but maybe they don't. Maybe you really don't find any sort of gratification or peace from a number being repeated to you 3 times, right? Maybe that doesn't mean anything to you. Maybe certain things in the earth around you do. Maybe you have certain symbols that trickle back to your childhood that are so meaningful to you, and you start to notice them a little bit more. Maybe that's a feather. Maybe that's a cardinal. To me, that symbolizes a past loved one for me. And every time I see a cardinal, I know that I'm divinely protected. Maybe for you, it's a certain color. It could be literally anything. You attach the meaning. You are in control of what is meaningful to you and what isn't. So I didn't really mean to get that deep into angel numbers, but it is a conversation that I think was meaningful that I've needed to have with you guys, because it's just one of the ways in which you can communicate with the universe, and people will look at you like you're crazy, and to that I have to say, just let them. Just let them. If it's something that genuinely brings you purpose, that gives you a second in your day, and maybe you don't even want to go as far as to becoming curious with whatever thoughts were coming up when you saw that number. Maybe just take angel numbers as a sign to take a second to slow down and to take a nice deep breath. That's all it can mean to you. Maybe that's the universe telling you to just slow down, and you can attach that meaning to any number. It could literally be anything you want it to be. Your relationship with whatever higher power you believe in is your relationship. It is singular to you and that divine being, that divine power. You don't need to conform to the conditioned beliefs that this world tries to tell you. I don't know why it is that, even as humans, we try to control the spiritual path of things sometimes, which completely takes away from the whole meaning of spirituality and what it means to be a spiritual being. I say all the time on this podcast, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings experiencing what it's like to be human for the first time. Like, you are whatever age you are for the first time in your life right now. And, maybe not. Maybe if you believe in reincarnation and parallel universes and all that stuff, then it might not be. But give yourself some grace, right? This is the first time you've ever been this old, and it's the last time you'll ever be this young again. Now, I want to take this second part of this episode into a little bit of a different realm. Still sticking on this same spiritual flow that we've got going. I love this flow state that I'm in currently, and I really think that it's going to resonate with a lot of you. With that being said, a huge breakthrough that I've had recently, and if you're an active listener on this podcast, you've probably been able to pick up on it in me a little bit too, is that I've realized that I need to start letting people meet me exactly where I am, and meeting other people exactly where they are as well with certain things. So I talked a little bit on my last episode, which was episode 2 of season 5. We are currently in season of the sunflower, if you didn't know. And if you want to hear more about that, I talk about it a little bit in a more spiritual sense at the end of my last episode, which, by the way, is honestly just a great little piggyback for this episode, because I talk about some similar topics that we discussed today. I just got a little more in depth today. But if you want to hear more about inner child healing and stuff like that, then go back to my last episode. Anyways, I digress. But what I mean when I say to let people meet you at whatever level you are at is that you don't have to shrink yourself at all to align with someone else. And I say in that last episode, if you are shrinking yourself, if you're molding yourself and simmering yourself down in any sort of way to align with someone else, then you don't actually align with them. You don't, because the people that align with you are the ones that not only meet you exactly where you are, but they actually amplify all of the parts of you that make you who you are. Maybe without you even realizing that those parts were in you the entire time, they just have this way of bringing out all of the best parts of you. And maybe also all of the unhealed parts of you that have been needing to be healed deeper and to be tapped into for a second. They meet you there and they make you feel comfortable to be vulnerable about it because they understand the language of your soul. And that's what I want to get into right now. Some things align with our soul and speak the language of our soul. That's what I mean by speaking the language of your soul, is by just knowing the way to you. Right? You ever have those friends where you're just like, oh, you just get me. That's what I mean by speaking the language of your soul. You can't even explain it. You can't even put it into words. It just makes sense. It just feels right. So we take away from our soul's language and that divine alignment by labeling ourselves, going back to my little yoga analogy, something in yoga called the upatis means labels or restrictions. And we as humans have this quality about us where we have to label everything, right? Like, we have a name for everything. Just think about it. Chair is chair. Table is table. Fork is fork. Like, those are just things in the grand scheme of it all. But we have names for all of them because we are so developed as a species that we have communication, we have language, and through that comes this labeling. But to take that a step further, we not only label inanimate objects in our life, we label ourselves. And, speaking without the yoga terms involved, we have these labels that are just simply explaining what we are, right? Like, your name is a label. What you do, your occupation is a label. Whether you are a son, a daughter, a sister, a brother, that's a label. All of those things are labels, right? But then we go even further to labeling ourselves as things like capable or incapable or whatever it might be. A huge thing that stems from this is labeling things like or dislike before really allowing ourselves to fully experience whatever it might be. We immediately try something new and we're so quick to be like, oh, I hate that, I'm never doing it again. And that's the first realm that we go to, that we hold on to. And then that's where a lot of these conditioned beliefs can stem from. Because it's not actually always that we don't like this thing. It's just that it's new and that we haven't experienced it yet before. We haven't reaped the benefits of it because we haven't allowed ourselves to. We are just labeling things so quickly and judging things based off of our first interaction. An analogy that I have thought of that has really helped me shift my mindset on this whole labeling concept that I'm talking about right now is looking at it from an animalistic perspective. So take a frog, for example. I don't know why that's the first animal that popped into my head, but anyways, frogs don't know that they are frogs, right? Like, we call them frogs. They don't know that they're frogs. They're only aware of what their body can and can't do to keep them alive. So if we go back to those 3 minds that I talked about in yoga, a frog is pretty much always living in that first mind, in their sat, the mind that is just instinctual and it tells them when they're hungry and what they need to do, go to the bathroom, mate, whatever those animalistic behaviors are. But humans are so much more complicated than animals, and we are quick to label ourselves as things that are not even true. And what that does is it takes us away from who we truly are until the point where we have lost sight completely of who we actually are. And I think a huge reason why we as humans go through mental distress so often, and why, we have so many people who are diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety. Well, anxiety honestly just stems from not trusting that everything is happening when and how it's supposed to. That's honestly the whole reason for anxiety. And that's not me dimming it down because it's fucking real. Like, I deal with it on a daily basis. Even though I know all of the things that I'm telling you right now, I still have to remind myself every single day to trust and to slow down. But going back to what I was saying, I think a huge reason why we get so stuck in these mental frameworks that don't serve us is because we get so out of touch with ourselves. And we start believing these conditioned beliefs that were never ours to begin with. They were just thoughts that we created from the ego parts of our brain, not from that booty part of your brain, from the ego parts of your brain that over time have just stuck because we keep thinking these things without questioning our beliefs, without questioning our thoughts. We just believe that our thoughts are true because they're ours. And before I leave you guys today, I want you to think about this for a second. In order to find who you are in this life, you first have to assess who you aren't and what you aren't. Let that sink in for a second, right? Like I told you guys in the beginning, get that pen and paper out. This is one you might want to open your journal up to and go a little bit deeper into for a second. What are you not? Because that's going to make it really clear to you what things you actually are. Like going back to that frog analogy that I gave you guys. A frog doesn't know that it's a frog, but it does know that it's not a tiger. At the same time, some frogs don't even know what the fuck a tiger is. They don't know what those animals look like because they're not in the same habitat. So in terms of humans, I think we get so quick to beat ourselves down for not knowing everything. When the truth is, you're never gonna know everything. And the second that you do think you know everything, you actually know nothing. Because someone who knows a lot of things knows that there is so much more to learn. And I don't want that to discourage you. Leaving you on that note, I'm going to do an entire episode on feeling like a beginner again, which goes along with what I just said of, feeling like you know nothing, feeling like you're still a baby. And there's so much more to learn, so much more to experience. I want us both to hold hands in this and to remember just how beautiful it is that we have so much more to experience in this life, that we have so much more to learn in this life. That's such a beautiful thing. That thought is not meant to limit us. That thought is not meant to make us stagnant. That thought is meant to empower us and to look inner. And you might think, what the fuck does looking inner mean, Lizzie, right? Like we hear this phrase all the time, look inner. But what does that mean? And to that, I will just leave you with looking inner means something different to everyone, right? But I think it really does start with becoming curious with those thoughts and especially those limiting beliefs. But in order to even be aware that something is a conditioned or a limiting belief, you have to first question your thoughts to come to that conclusion, to that label. Anyways, that is all I have for you guys today. I really enjoyed hanging out with you guys. I felt like I was really in flow state after my long 7-hour drive. And now for the rest of my day, I'm going to unpack every single thing that I own and organize my entire house. So I had to do the fun thing first, sit down and hang out with you guys, and now I gotta tackle the real stuff. But it's okay, because I'll go listen to Balloonerism by Mac Miller. Anyways, tune in every single Monday for a brand new episode. Go check out the show notes below for some journal prompts curated to this episode to help you go a little bit deeper into some of the things that we talked about. Go get your mud water using the link in the show notes. Go find me on TikTok or Instagram, or maybe just Instagram if TikTok doesn't exist by the time this is posted. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, come as you are and leave a little more healed.